we are going to be looking at A-level biology paper 2, revision of some past questions. And straight away we're going to start. I'm going to post the questions right there on the board, and then we go on answering them. Question 1. A. Make a fully labeled diagram or drawing of the stomach of a named ruminant, and B. Briefly describe how a named herbivore is adapted for mechanical and chemical digestion of cellulose, and C. How are the products of cellulose digestion absorbed and used? Normally mark as options 8, 8, 4. Max. So right there is a question. So answer. Normally in A-levels biology paper 2, there are 8 questions to be answered 5. The candidate answers more than 5. The first 5 are marked, and the subsequent ones are cancelled. So it is good for candidates to follow the instructions carefully, because to pass an exam, the instructions are very, very primordial. If you miss the instructions, you've missed the entire exams. So part A of question 1 says, make a fully labeled drawing of the stomach of a named ruminant. It's a very key, important word, ruminant. Now, our cellulose or grass-eating or herbivorous organisms are divided into 2. There is the non-ruminant and the ruminant. So in this case, the question says we should look at and draw a fully labeled diagram of the ruminant, stomach of the ruminant. So we are not interested in non-ruminant. So straight away we'll look at the drawing. All right, so we have here the esophagus, the reticulum, omasum, abomasum, and rumen. Now, a ruminant has 4 main compartments of the stomach. There is the reticulum, omasum, abomasum, and the rumen. That's what is very much important as we look at the diagram. So normally, on that, every biological diagram must have a title. So under our diagram, we said diagram of the stomach of a sheep, because our question says a named. So we have named by saying diagram of the stomach of a sheep, and we've labeled. So part A of question 1, well answered. Part B says, briefly describe how a named herbivore is adapted for mechanical and chemical digestion. So we move to part B. The very first key thing here is that our question says a named herbivore. So the name of the herbivore must come first before the description. If the name is not there, marks off. So it says, briefly describe how a named herbivore is adapted for mechanical and chemical digestion of cellulose. So we start the answer by giving the name of the herbivore. So we could say digestion, bracket chemical, of cellulose, mechanical of cellulose in a sheep, for instance. That is our name herbivore. Sheep is a herbivore. Herbivore, all grass-eating organisms. In a sheep, if we want to use a sheep, simply say goat. If we want to use a goat, antelope. All of these are the alternative that we can use for our name herbivore. They are all herbivores. Just giving the name is a mark because it has been said a named herbivore. And so we proceed to the digestion proper. Upper incisor and canines are missing. And replaced by a honey pack. So for our herbivores, the upper incisor and the canines are missing and replaced by a honey pack. So the upper incisor are not there, the canines are not there, upper incisor and canines are missing and replaced by a horny pad. Against which vegetation is cut. So in the absence of the incisors and the canine, we have a horny pad upon which the grass is being cut. So they act as the incisors and the canine since they are not there. So the upper incisor is absent as well as a canine and replaced by a horny pad, and that horny pad helps in the cutting of grass. The next point, the diastema provides a space for manipulation of the tongue. So the tongue has enough space to rule the grass. To keep the grass. Next point. Premolars and molars are M and W. M and W shaped for proper grinding. Now, let me explain what M and W shape all means. Now, a letter M, for instance, can neatly fit in our W. That is why they said M. It is said M and W. So they can easily fit M and W. That's why we say M and W. Shape for proper grinding. Next point. The teeth of the herbivore, which is our sheep in question. Herbivore. Our sheep in question grow continuously. So the teeth grow continuously. As they are being weighed out, they keep growing. Weighed out, they keep growing. So they grow continuously throughout their entire life. It's a very key adaptation for herbivores because the teeth keep growing. It doesn't weigh out. Next point, partially chewed grass or vegetation is regurgitated. Partially chewed grass or vegetation is regurgitated. It's regurgitated and rechewed. You can bear me witness for those who keep animals, rare animals. You find that after your goat has eaten for some time, It goes and sits somewhere quietly and then regurgitates, and you see they go chewing, even when there is no grass there that is eaten. It's the one that has already been eaten. And most often we call this chewing the cud. Chewing the cud. Chewing the cud. That's a key term for the regurgitating and chewing of the grass. Next point is that the rumen function in fermentation. Fermentation. So the grass is fermented. Function in fermentation, as the grass is fermented. There is also the presence of cellulase, which is an enzyme that breaks the cellulose, to glucose. Next, it is that the glucose, the glucose is fermented. It's fermented to carboxylic acid, partly ethanol, ethanoic, propanoic, and butanoic acid. So your carboxylic acid, partly, these are the main acids that the glucose is fermented into, which are absorbed by the sheep, and carbon dioxide. The next and last point I'll look under subtopic 1b is that the grass now is rolled down, is sent down through peristalsis. The presence of peristalsis. Peristalsis, as the alternate contraction of the longitudinal and circular muscle of the cord. Peristalsis and churning of the muscular action of the muscle assists mechanical digestion of cellulose. The mushroom assists So from B, which says we have here 8 marks. And out of that 8, we've listed more than 8 points. More than 8 points. So it is worth noting that as you answer each question, as this question is being answered, check the mark allocation. The mark allocation will tell you how much to write. How much to write, or how many points to be given. For instance, our B says 8 marks. B says 8 marks. So we are going to list out at least 8 points. And we've listed more than 8. So B, we've exhausted B. We move to part C. So I was saying that we move to part C, 1C, which says how the products of cellulose digestion absorbed and used. They are absorbed and used. So the very first point is that you look at the mark allocation of C. The mark allocation says 4 marks. Our C gives us 4 marks. In other words, you need to write 4 points maximum. If you have more than 5, good and fine. So we're going to list out or give out 4 points and above. First point is that glucose, which is the end product to begin with. So our C, glucose is absorbed. Glucose is absorbed by the blood through the rumen and ileum. So absorbed through the rumen and ileum. So glucose is absorbed by the blood through the rumen and ileum. Next point, the acid. That is our ethanoic acid, propanoic acid, butanoic acid, all of that. So the acid, we have ethanoic acid, propanoic acid, and butanoic acid. All of this acid are absorbed through the rumen, are absorbed through the lumen. They are absorbed through the lumen. Through the rumen walls. So the next point that we have here is that water and end product of. So water mostly is absorbed. It's absorbed through the walls of the abomasum. Through the walls of the abomasum. Now the glucose is broken down the glucose is broken down to release energy used by the sheep for its activities. You know, the sheep as an organism needs energy to carry out its basic activities, movement, excretion, and so on and so forth. The acid is also broken, whether it is our ethanoic acid or propanoic acid or butanoic acid, is broken down also to release energy. So these are the major source of energy for our sheep. For instance, these are the major source of energy. Also, the glucose is converted. The glucose is converted to glycogen for storage. Converted to glycogen for storage. Glucose is converted to glycogen for storage. You know, so that if the animal in turn needs energy and maybe it has not digested or eaten grass, this glycogen can now be broken to liberate glucose for that main time for storage in the liver, because the liver does most of the storage of animal glycogen. So the storage form, glycogen is storage form of your carbohydrate in animals. The glucose again is converted to fats, and stored in adipose tissues, beneath the skin. Converted to adipose tissues and stored beneath the skin. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So out of the 4, we've listed 7. And that is enough. So we've exhausted our question 1. Dear students, so see you next time. And don't forget to subscribe to African Light Plus TV. It's a wonderful thing, and they have numerous revision classes, just like you have in biology. Tell your friends and, inform them to also subscribe. Thank you.